How can I possibly be 13 million power City Hall 25 and it's only day 58 and I'm not buying speed ups? Well, in this video I'm going to try and explain how to make the best of your speed ups and how to possibly get more, but really how to change your mindset around how speed ups work. The most important thing you need to know in this video is to understand that small differences make big differences over time. In this game you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 building, 5, 6 and 1 research. 7 queues. Each of these queues run for 24 hours. So in a day you get 7 times 24, which is 168 hours for free. Now, you may be concentrating on this tab here, but forget about it for the moment. You've got that 168 hours. How effective are you being with that 168 hours? Now, I've played for a long time and I'm very effective. I'm hyper effective. And I hope to give you some tips in this video of how you can be more effective as well. But let's just think for a moment how this plays out over time. So, if in 100 days, or the first 100 days of your kingdom, that's 168 hours times 100 is 16,800 hours that you get for free. But of course we all sleep, we aren't always online to use our speed ups. Let's say you're well practiced like me and you're very efficient with your time. Also, when you were building the account in the initial first days when queues were very low in time, you played an awful lot. Then let's say you were 90% effective. So for those first 100 days you would get 630 days from your queues for free. Where, let's say if you were only 50% effective, for the first 100 days, you would only get 350 days out of these queues if you only kept them running half of the time. Now, this is huge. To then buy the 200 odd days worth of speed ups between us would be very, very expensive. But you can see how over time, by being more effective, like in the first week you wouldn't even notice the difference between our accounts. But after 100 days, it's going to be very obvious how far ahead I have got by being effective with my time. Let's now go back right to the first day of the kingdom. Let's imagine we both intended to start our sleeper accounts on 3551. But I waited for the kingdom to open and immediately made my account as soon as I could. And you followed 3 hours later. So, are you only 3 hours behind me? No, because there are 7 queues. So, you are 3 hours times 7 behind me. So, you're 21 hours behind me. And you've only just made your account. Also, one of the ways that you can reduce speed ups is 5-minute building speed ups in the first few hours of a new kingdom. It's possible to farm thousands of helps if you're really quick. Like I'm showing you here, just into helps, help, into helps, help. Just keep farming like crazy and it's possible to get 3,000 or 4,000 helps in the first few hours. If you miss though this crucial first few hours, 3 or 4 hours into kingdom, this is no longer possible to do. It's a very small window where you can boost your account with 5-minute speed ups or 5-minute build up speed ups because of the event quest line or of how many helps that you have done. Now you might say, well, eventually I'll get these helps anyhow, but you also need to understand that speed ups are more valuable earlier in the game. The courier station is fantastically valuable, and certainly as a sleeper account you need to rush the courier station immediately so that you definitely get it to trigger 4 times within that day. Also, when I'm speedrunning, I also consider refreshing the mysterious merchant for 100 gems. Because remember, my VIP is low. I can't buy the 8-hour speed ups should I want them. And the 1-hour speed ups aren't great value. They're 50 gems in the VIP shop. Where the courier station early game is fantastically important. So let's just refresh now. Obviously what you're looking for is 3-hour speed ups. Now let's spend the 100 gems. Let's see there we go. So the 100 gems, I got 6 hours, 7, 8, 9 hours, 9 hours and 15 minutes. So a significant amount of speed ups for 100 gems. It's worth the risk in that very early stages of your game. Obviously at day 58, this would have no value whatsoever. That would be a waste of 100 gems. But in the early game, that might get you to the next city hall. And remember, getting to the next city hall would then give you more gems through the quest rewards. So, courier station, early game is fantastically important. It's a way of producing a head start for your account. And once you have a head start, it's very hard for other players to catch up. Another example of being hyper effective in the first few days, especially for the sleeper account, is that for the first night overnight you do the swordsman, for the second night overnight you do the bowman, for the third night overnight you do the light cavalry, and then on the fourth you do the siege. Why is this important? It's because there's very few options early game that will go right through the night for research. Remember, you have your city halls which will go overnight, no problem. But for research, there aren't many, and if you were to do these during the day or rush them to try and gain the event reward, the questline event reward, you could create the situation where you're losing hours of research overnight. So, out of a possible first 4 days, you could get up to 96 hours if you kept your research queue going all the time. But if you fail to do these overnight, you could lose 10 to 12 hours, no problem. Put you down to about 84 to 86 hours, which again, I know isn't a lot. But remember, the only way to truly catch this up would be to purchase the hours. Next, I need to talk about resource management, or having support accounts or farms to feed your main account. Why am I talking about resource management in a speed up video? Well, it's fantastically important. Between point A, which is your City Hall 1, and point B, which is your City Hall 25, you can draw a straight line. But to continue down that straight line, or the most effective line, or the most effective way to City Hall 25, you would have to always have the resources to start the next building. But many players around the later City Halls will get to a point where they haven't, for example, got the stone to do their wall or the food and wood to do their city hall. This might not sound like it matters because you can build other things, and sometimes that's true. You could start building support buildings that you need for your next city hall, but that only works up to a point. And it's possible that if you don't have the resources, for example, your City Hall 25, there's no building you can then build which will be helping you get. There is no City Hall further than that. So if you don't have your resources ready for level 25, when you get to it, you then start to deviate from the route between A and B. And as you wander off the route, you become less effective. So resource management, or having the resources for your next city hall or next thing you need to build, is fantastically important. The first test of this is really during the Lohar stage, where up until the early city halls the game gives you enough resources to keep building, even almost without gathering. But during the Lohar event, it's important to start to gather stone, as the Lohar event gives you a lot of wood and food. And what you don't want to then be is caught out that you've got far too much wood or far too much food and not enough stone, and then you start to deviate from the most effective path to the next city hall. And this can be a real problem, especially for newer players, or especially if you haven't got sufficient support accounts or farms. On top of the resources you need to follow the most efficient path for your city hall, you also need to keep in mind that on top of what you need to build, you must always keep your alliance centre the same level as your city hall, and the academy the same level as your city hall. At first this is easy to do because they're not that expensive, but later in the game this is a huge demand on your resources, especially if you're already struggling to follow the most effective path. But by not keeping your alliance centre in sync with your city hall, you will be giving up helps, and every help is 1% of the next build queue. Helps are fantastically important. I've got 30 helps, so that's a 30% reduction on everything I do from this point. Again, some people miss with the academy. It's one of the largest research bonus boosts, which up to 18% on level 24. Level 25 is a whole video in itself. You can't just get there that easy, but level 24 you can. And 18% research bonus is ginormous. To put it into some idea of what the value of that 18% is, go and have a look at your research in mathematics. So 15% is worth 369,000 power. So that is very, very valuable. Don't miss out on it. But at the same time, keep going from A to B on your City Hall 25. We now move on to a tip that I've mentioned many times before. This is how you use your speed ups early game. At no point should you ever be waiting for the building queue on your siege workshop, your stables, your archer range, your barracks, your academy. The reason for this is that any speed up you use on one of these buildings, you get double return. So if I use a 24-hour speed up on my barracks, not only do I get a 24-hour speed up building, I also gain back 24 hours of training. This is unbelievably important and adds up to a huge amount of time. As a rule, you shouldn't buy speed ups with gems. But if you're speed running or going for the 1.5 million challenge, then you have to. Also, with the key buildings, they're so important that I would buy speed ups with gems to finish them. So my academy was a 6-day build and I didn't quite have the speed ups to finish it, so I had to buy these. But of course, I got double in return. So for the 240, I got an 8-hour speed up, but I also got back 8 hours of research, making it hyper effective to buy gems in this scenario. Sunset Canyon, one of my favourite events in the game, but also a huge source of training speed ups. So let's just imagine for the first 100 days, I come in the top 3, or I come 3rd, and you come 30th. So I get 3 hours a day, and then you get 1 hour. And at the end of the week, I get 10 hours, and you get 5 hours reward, just like that. This doesn't seem to matter for 1 week, but if we put this over the first 100 days, I would gain 13 days of training speed ups, where you would only gain 6 days of training speed ups. So I'm over double the reward, and that's just for making the effort with Sunset Canyon. I know that's not available to everybody. Getting in the top 5 is difficult, but if you play the game effectively, this is the sort of rewards you. Being a sleeper account and pushing my power in the way that I have means that I am quite high up in the individual power rankings of my alliance. I'm under no threat of being removed from my alliance. This means that I can hoard, then push, hoard, then push. And by doing that cycle, I get more speed ups because you not only get gold head rewards, is what I'm really after, you also get more speed ups if you're able to push to a higher rank than somebody that's constantly pushing because they're struggling to stay in the top alliance. But of course, if you have the choice between horde push and staying in the top alliance, nothing is more important than staying in the top of alliance. Being in the top alliance will also reward alliance gifts. Obviously, I've shown myself opening gold chests on various videos, and We are level 18 on Kingdom Day 58, which is pretty significant. So you know I've had a boost from gold chests. My entire channel is aimed towards getting power early on your account, which is the main objective of this, is to get in the top alliance. So if you have the power to get in the top alliance, you must go, because you need to follow the money, follow the alliance gifts, and this will hugely boost your account. One downside though from huge gold chest income though is, remember, you to be able to use those gold chests, we would also have to go back to resource management. A huge number of players can sometimes get into the top alliance. Maybe they've been a low spender, they're in the top alliance, and they start to build up speed ups to the point that they can't use them because they haven't got the resources. So if you're in the top alliance, it's really important to have those support accounts. So I just want to mention for a second time in this video, it's about speed ups, resource management, fantastically important. So what I've had accounts before where I've got 400, 500 3-hour speed ups because I'm getting so many gold chests, but I simply couldn't use them. Thank you for watching my speed ups guide. I know some people might be disappointed at this point that I don't really have secret ways of gaining more speed ups in your bag. Unfortunately, the main way to do that would be to pay. Though I will obviously give a shout out that I do know that you can barbarian chain, so go and look for that subject if you want a huge amount of training speed ups. You can also gather gems. If your resource management is so strong that you don't need to gather resources on your main, you can gather gems on your main. And of course, if you have a massive surplus of gems, you'll be spinning wheels like crazy and getting extra speed ups. And of course, could buy the ones from the VIP shop. But that's not the way I play the game. That's more grind to play, and I'm more effective to play. Thanks for watching. That's all for today.